Hey guys, so on this part of the course, we're about halfway through, and what we're going to start doing now is this video, I'm going to show you how to pretty easily pick the right uh, deal or the right property. And then the next 2 to 3 videos, we're actually going to look at real properties and we're going to evaluate how each one looks. So let's get started. So the name of this chapter is called Pick the Right Property / deal. So a way to make it really easy for yourself is just to, when you look at a piece of land or a listing online, usually in about 5 minutes, you'll be able to evaluate, if that's the right piece of property for you. So a few things that I would always start out with is like the five would be access is number one, meaning is there a road going through it or is there an easement? Meaning is can you get to that property? Right. There's some land that you need like a 4x4 to get to. But then if you're like, oh, I want to drive my car to this property, you got to make sure there's like a usable road to actually get there. And then the next thing is zoning. So, what is that property like zoned for? If it's residential or is it commercial? And then what is your use? And then the third one is usually not really that big of a problem, but what are the taxes owed on it? And then if it's like $100 a year, are you comfortable and are you willing to pay that $100 in property taxes every year? The fourth one is utilities. So, if you have a specific plan, like, hey, I want to build my ranch or build a house on this thing, and I want to have electricity and, which is normal, you want to check for where there's utilities. And if you're wanting to do like live off grid, where you're self-sufficient and you don't, you're going to do solar power. And then, so then you kind of have to decide, like, am I going to do the off-grid thing where utilities are not that important to me? Or do I want utilities? And if so, a great way that I always look at it is you can just see if there's any houses nearby on the map. And if there's multiple houses, there's probably a high likelihood there are utilities. And then the last one is you want to look for comparable sales, meaning, and I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video, is how to see if, like, in the last 12 months, what has land sold for in that area. And then you look for properties that are similar in size to yours. And so, like we were talking about for the point number one, is you just want to always confirm that there's legal access. And how you can do that is whoever the seller is, you can ask them, but you can also verify by looking at, the boundaries of the property and seeing if there's a road going right to it. So, and also you can always ask the county if sometimes they're willing to be helpful, especially like the assessor's department, and even sometimes zoning. So, so call the county assessor, call the seller or the realtor and ask them about the legal access to the property. And the second thing is legal access is different than physical access, right? So legal access means that there was a road created when the land was like plotted or platted, but sometimes if it's been abandoned, there might be trees or bushes that have grown on those roads, especially if it was like a dirt road or something and they did not pave it. So physical access means you're physically able to actually get there. Legal just means on paper that it exists. And you got to start with legal access and then physical access, because physical access, you can probably get that, if you're buying like a big ranch or something and you need to clear up a road, you can bring in like a land clearing company and they can usually clear the roads and grade. So you can put that physical access in, but the best thing is confirm if there's both. And then you're fine. The next thing is carrying costs. So we were talking about that with property taxes. And the second thing to think about is if the land is in a property owners association or a HOA, there might be other fees that you might have to pay on a yearly basis, since you're part of that association. So just look at that and see, like, hey, is this cost on an annual basis something that I'm willing to pay? And is this, am I fine with that, right? Because when you're buying land, you're probably thinking long term. So think over the next 10, 20 years. And the third thing is this one I wrote down because I really think it's important, because there's always a misconception. Buy based on utility, not just price. Another thing to add to not just price is not just the acreage or the size, right? Because you also have to think about usability, right? And location. So for example, if you can buy and it totally depends on your goals, but I would rather have less land that's more usable and in a better location than tons of acreage somewhere like that I would have to drive an extra hour and a half to get to. So think about the usability of your land and the, like how fast you can get there if you wanted to, and things like that. Right. And also, what I wrote, a cheap, usable half-acre lot beats a large landlocked bargain you can't reach. So that's something to think about. And going in the next video, we're gonna look at a couple of deals, and we're gonna walk through the 5-step evaluation.